fast forward through any of these problems. This contains problems 7 through 12. Also stop it, fast forward, take a screenshot of something. If you have a question or something I say doesn't make sense, please let me know. All right, this is number 7. Remember, this exercise said it's better to start on 7 and go to the end and then go back to 1. It kind of builds that way. So they're asking, these are polynomials, they're asking us to identify the degree. The degree is the highest exponent. So if we look at this first one, negative 6x to the 4, negative 6x squared minus 7. The largest exponent is a 4. So that's the degree 4. The leading term is that term that has that exponent of the 4. Now make sure you include the sign in front of that term. So negative 6x to the 4th. And then the coefficient, leading coefficient, is the coefficient of that term, which is negative 6. And be sure to include the sign. So it may not be in order like the next one, but you still take the highest exponent. So that would be a 6. The term would be 19x to the 6. When it's positive, you don't have to write the plus when you're just writing one term. And the coefficient is a positive 19. Then the next one, we have exponents of 16, 18, and 15. So 18 is the highest degree. And that's a negative 14x to the 18th. That's the term. And then the coefficient would be negative 14. It's good to know the leading term, because when you start to factor, you need to put it in order with the highest term first, or the highest degree first. This is find the difference. Difference means subtraction, so that's key here, because this negative changes everything in this after it. It doesn't change the first part. So the first part is 30x squared plus 55x minus 16. This second part is subtraction, or not multiplication. If it were multiplication, there would not be a minus or a plus between the two sets of parentheses. So this is subtraction. It changes that positive 30x squared to a negative 30x squared. And I'm just going to put it underneath since I didn't leave enough room out to the side. And then negative times negative 39 is a plus 39. Now make sure you put that under the constant term if you're doing it this way. It's not a 39x, it's just a 39. So then what happens here, those go away. And if you look at the answer, sometimes it'll say 0x squared. You don't have to write the 0x squared. So I'm just going to bring down the 55x. And then 39 minus 16, signs are different, subtract, take the sign of the larger, so that will give us 23. And double check 9, 3. So that is our answer, 55x plus 23. This says expand out, and what it really means is multiply it, which is FOIL. And I'll show you how FOIL works. So it's 5x plus 7 quantity squared. That means you're squaring that 5x plus 7, so you're multiplying it times itself. And what we do to do this, it's called FOIL, but basically you're taking this first number and multiplying it times everything over here in the other set of parentheses. And then you take the next number and multiply it times everything over there. So let's first do the first number, the 5x times 5x. That will give us 25x squared. And that's the first. If you notice, that's the first term of both binomials, 5x times 5x. And then you're going to multiply the 5x times the 7, so that is plus 35x. That's the outside. Notice how those are on the outside. The 5x and the 7 are on the outside. And then we're going to take the 7 and we're going to multiply it times everything over here. So it's the same thing. Even if you don't remember FOIL, just remember, take the first term, multiply it times everything in the other set of parentheses. Take the next term, multiply it times everything in the other set of parentheses. So 7 times 5x is plus 35x. Make sure to include your signs in between the terms. This is the inside. Notice this 7 and the 5x are inside the problem. And the last is a 7 times 7, which is plus 49. Those are the last terms of the problem. So F is for the first terms of the problem. L is for the last terms of the problem. The O and I, the O is for the outside numbers. The I is for the inside numbers. Now, we want to collect like terms. So there's nothing that goes with 25x squared. Right here, notice those two are alike. So 35x plus 35x is 70x. We're adding, so we don't change the variable, we just change the coefficient and bring down plus 49. That is our answer. Now, there is a shortcut that you can do for this. You don't have to do it, but I'm going to show you just in case you want to see it. This is the shortcut. And you've got a lot to remember. So if you can't remember, just do the FOIL because that's for every binomial will work. So you square the first term. 5x times 5x is 25x squared. You square the last term. That's 49. 7 times 7 is 49. Now, the problem, some people stop there, but that's not right because we have that inside term, remember? So on the inside term, you bring down that sign, and you multiply 5x times 7, and then always times 2, because you're going to double that. Remember over here, when you had the 35x and the 35x, you had two of them. So we have 25x squared. This is 35x, and it's always times 2. So this is 25x squared plus 70x plus 49. So you get the same answer. It's just quicker way if you remember. All right, and you don't have to have all those steps. You could just look, square the first, square the last, multiply every number you see together, and bring down the common sign there. This is FOIL. We're going to do FOIL. And when we do this, notice the binomials are exactly alike except one's a plus and one's a minus. When you have binomials that are exactly alike except one's a sum and one's a difference, you're going to end up with the difference of squares. That's going to be your answer. It's going to be a difference of squares. So let me show you FOIL first. We're going to do x plus 2 times x minus 2. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. Then we're going to take the 2 and multiply times over here, so that's positive 2x. And then the 2 times negative 2 gives us negative 4. What will always happen whenever you have two binomials exactly alike, except one's a sum, one's a difference, the inside and outside will always cancel. So really on this one, you only have to multiply the first term and the last term. It's only when they're exactly alike but the signs are different. That's the only time you can do that. It can't be kind of alike. It has to be exactly alike, but one's a plus, one's a minus. In that case, you can omit the inside and outside. So whenever you see, so for example, if you saw x plus 7 times x minus 7, those are exactly alike. So except one's a plus and one's a minus. So all you have to do is multiply the first and the last. And that will give you your answer. And it's always a minus because remember, those signs have to be different. And a positive times negative 7 will give you a negative 49. So that is when they're exactly like, one's a plus, one's a minus. So now this one is kind of like that one that we did the shortcut, not the difference of squares. This one's called a perfect square trinomial. So when you do this, you're going to get a perfect square trinomial. So we can do FOIL. I'm going to do FOIL and I'm going to do the shortcut. FOIL, 4x times 4x is 16x squared. That's the F. 4x times negative 6, that's the negative 24x. That's the O, that's on the outside. And then negative 6 times 4x is negative 24x. That's the I on the inside. And negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36. That's the L. Collect like terms, 16x squared. We bring it down. These two are alike. Now, they don't cancel because they're the same sign, so you add them because they're two that are just alike. So you multiply it by 2, negative 24x by 2, or you can add them together and get negative 48x, and then plus 36. So this is our answer. Now, when we go back to, in a couple of problems, I think number 13, we start to factor, so we'll take this 16x squared minus 48x plus 36 and make it look like the 4x minus 6 quantity squared. Shortcut. Square the first term. 4x times 4x is 16x squared. Last term, you're multiplying negative 6 times negative 6. That's positive 36. Then for the middle term, you multiply all the numbers. So that is, bring down a negative 6 times 4x times 2. Doesn't matter what order you put them in. And that gives you a negative 48x. And generally you do all that other stuff in your head and you just write the answer. So square the first term, square the last term, multiply all the numbers you see. 4x times negative 6 times 2. It gives you negative 48x. Here we're going to multiply. It's not FOIL because there's a binomial and a trinomial, but it's still the same steps because you're going to multiply the x times everything over here. So let's do that. X times x squared is x cubed. X times 2x is plus 2x squared. Remember, when you multiply, you add your exponents. And then x times negative 3 is negative 3x. And then we're going to do the negative 6 times everything over here. And that will take care of everything. Now, I'm going to put it underneath. To me, it's easier that way. Negative 6 times x squared is negative 6x squared. When you put it underneath, make sure you include the sign and you put it under the correct column with the same variable and exponent. Then negative 6 times 2x is negative 12x. And negative 6 times negative 3 is plus 18, and we don't have a constant term up there, so I'm just going to put it out to the side. So now I'm going to add up the columns. X cubed, nothing goes with that. 2x squared minus 6x squared. Signs are different. Subtract, take the sign of the larger, so that would be negative 4x squared. Negative 3x minus 12x, signs are alike, so we add, take the common sign, so that's negative 15x, and then bring down the plus 18. Now, how you put this in lumen is a little bit different. Normally, we just write the whole thing, but notice here they have x cubed, they have x squared, x, and no variable, because that's the constant term. So this x cubed, what's the coefficient understood to be is 1. Don't leave it blank, put a 1. Right here for x squared, it's negative 4. Make sure to include the sign negative 4. For the x, it's negative 15. Again, include the sign. And the last one without a variable is your constant term of 18. If you, for some reason, if you did this, I think there's one problem where you do this, and you have like a minus x cubed, so the x cubes go away. In that case, you would put 0. If you didn't have an x cubed, you would put 0 there.